Oh, yeah.
The buzz surrounding a potential showdown between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez has sparked intense debates within the boxing world, with experts sharing their opinions and predictions. However, the drama reached new heights when boxing legend Oscar De La Hoya made some eyebrow-raising comments, hinting that Canelo might be avoiding this fight.
Every fighter will like to move up in weight.
Only special talent get to do that. And he's that pound for pound special, once in a lifetime talent that's able to do that. The impact of his punch,
leaving fans to question his reputation. De La Hoya didn't pull any punches when discussing Crawford's chances against Canelo. He pointed out Crawford's incredible skill, but was quick to downplay the power he brings to the ring at 154 pounds.
As he moves up in weight, it just will not be the same.
This is how you get beat as a great fighter. You move too far up the weight classes.
De La Hoya suggested that while Crawford dominates at lower weights, his success might not translate against a fighter of Canelo's size and strength. He even went as far as saying Crawford didn't seem too dangerous at a higher weight, implying that Crawford's smaller frame
as I get older, you never know how your body is going to react.
could be a significant disadvantage in this matchup. His critique set the tone for the ongoing debate, focusing on the often discussed topic of skill versus size. De La Hoya made it clear, it's rare for a smaller fighter to defeat a larger one in boxing.
But I'm confident that I'll be good. I'm looking forward to feeling more energized, stronger. 147 was tough. The last fight was, took a lot.
And Canelo's physical advantage might be too much for Crawford to overcome. According to De La Hoya, Canelo's dominance at higher weight classes made him the favorite, and the idea of Crawford pulling off an upset seemed almost impossible. His remarks immediately added fuel to the fire.
Weigh-ins, but as you can see from me training so hard, my body just bounced right back to normal because it's used to going through that trauma.
It's making fans wonder if this was a fair critique or an attempt to undermine Crawford's legacy before the fight even took place. But just when it seemed like De La Hoya's stance was set, he threw a curveball that stunned the boxing world. In an unexpected twist, the former champion expressed that Crawford not only has a chance in the fight,
easy to become champion, and it's hard to stay champion.
I thought I would never say this, but Canelo's scared. Literally, I thought I would, as a fighter, I know fighters are not scared, but wow, we've been begging.
But could beat Canelo every single time. This sudden shift in De La Hoya's tone left fans scrambling to process his surprising confidence in the smaller fighter, flipping his earlier stance entirely. In his bold reversal,
Canelo, please, we want this fight. I want it as a fan. And I want this fight because it's a great fight for boxing, for the sport we love. Turkey's making the best fights and Canelo's not giving.
De La Hoya painted Crawford as the favorite in this matchup, praising his boxing skills and placing him above Canelo in terms of technique. He highlighted Crawford's precision, footwork, and adaptability, positioning him as a more versatile and smarter fighter compared to Canelo.
First of all, I give Crawford all the credit in the world for even thinking about possibly fighting Canelo. But if that fight ever takes place, I have Crawford 1,000%. And people are...
This was a massive challenge to the long-standing perception of Canelo as the more complete fighter in the sport. De La Hoya's comments suggested that Crawford's tactical brilliance could expose Canelo's reliance on power and durability.
You're going to say, oh, well, you're contradicting yourself. I kind of am, but Crawford is also a big guy. Crawford is a big guy who can handle a Canelo because they're the same size.
Raising the question of whether brute strength alone is enough to withstand Crawford's calculated approach.
Crawford is a guy who punches hard, but he doesn't rely on his power. He relies on his footwork. He relies on his speed, on his change-ups. He relies on his combinations. He relies on his mind. And I believe that Crawford is a way better boxer than Canelo.
As the debate over this potential fight intensified, Eddie Hearn added his voice to the conversation, questioning whether the bout would even take place.
I'd be very surprised if that fight happens. I think His Excellency has been pushing that fight. It didn't seem like it was something that Canelo was really up for, to be honest.
His remarks brought a new layer of controversy to the discussion, suggesting that Canelo may not be fully committed to facing Crawford.
He would have come to fight. And Crawford can't really come to fight like that in that fight because he's at a massive size disadvantage and he can't be standing in front of him.
This only added more fuel to the rumors that Canelo could be dodging a challenge that might change the trajectory of his legacy.
There's great outlaw fighters, and they feel like make sense and they're gonna fight each other. Stylistically, it's a great fight.
With the stakes higher than ever, the battle lines are clear: skill versus power. The boxing world is buzzing, and it remains to be seen if this fight will ever come to fruition. But one thing's for sure: the drama surrounding Crawford versus Canelo is far from over.
Canelo is a big dude, and I think it'd be hard for anyone to beat him at 168. But it's definitely a big money fight, and that's why we're all in boxing.
Eddie Hearn's blunt comments have raised questions about Canelo Alvarez's true willingness to face Terence Crawford, suggesting that external pressures may be the driving force behind the discussions, rather than a genuine desire to take on the challenge.
Oh yeah.
Hearn subtly questioned Canelo's fighting spirit, putting a spotlight on whether the Mexican superstar is truly pursuing greatness or simply trying to protect his career by avoiding unnecessary risks.
Every fighter will like to move up in weight.
Only special talent get to do that, and he's that pound-for-pound special, once-in-a-lifetime talent that's able to do that. The impact of his punch.
The report lists many other examples of tenacious behavior. As the rumors surrounding a potential Crawford versus Canelo fight continue to swirl,
as he moves up in weight, it just will not be the same.
This is how you get beat as a great fighter. You move too far up the weight classes.
Canelo himself stepped into the conversation. After weeks of speculation and criticism, the Mexican champion responded with a statement that many saw as both confident and dismissive. His remarks sent shockwaves through the boxing community, drawing a clear line between his self-assured dominance and the doubts being raised by critics. While Hearn's comments questioned Canelo's resolve,
as I get older, you never know how your body is going to react.
the reigning champion's response shifted the narrative, portraying Crawford as a challenge he was more than ready to conquer. Canelo boldly declared, "I'm in, why not? Don't get me wrong, he's a great fighter. But for me, in my weight class, it's an easy fight, easy money."
But I'm confident that I'll be good. I'm looking forward to feeling more energized, stronger. 147 was tough. The last fight was, took a lot.
This statement added a new layer to the controversy, with many interpreting it as both a challenge and a dismissal of Crawford's threat. By calling the fight easy money, Canelo not only downplayed Crawford's abilities, but also fueled speculation that he might not be taking the matchup seriously. The truth was that Canelo was way too sensitive to lose to beat anybody. As fans and analysts alike debated whether Canelo's confidence was genuine or an underestimation of Crawford's capabilities, Eddie Hearn remained unconvinced. Despite Canelo's self-assurance, Hearn continued to dig deeper into the dynamics at play, suggesting that beneath Canelo's bravado might lie a strategic hesitation. Hearn argued that Canelo's concerns were more about the optics of the fight than fear of Crawford. He went further, revealing his conversations with Canelo about the potential matchup. "I think he's kind of feeling that when I beat Crawford, everyone's going to say I've beaten someone at 154. Hearn's comments hinted that Canelo was concerned about being criticized for beating a smaller opponent, casting a shadow over a potential win. This revealed a more calculated approach from Canelo, prioritizing his public perception over taking on high-risk challenges that could cement his legacy. Hearn continued to outline Canelo's preferred approach to picking opponents, suggesting that the Mexican champion might be more inclined toward matchups that align with his comfort zone.
But as you can see from me training so hard, my body just bounced right back to normal because, you know, it's used to going through that trauma.
I don't think he wants to be fighting guys that are just moving all the time, Hearn added, drawing a clear contrast between Canelo's usual style of opponents and Crawford's elusive tactical approach. This statement further fueled the perception that Canelo might be avoiding fights that force him to adapt to a different style, with Crawford's strategic game plan presenting a direct challenge to Canelo's preferred rhythm. Hearn highlighted how Crawford's agility and tactics could expose weaknesses in Canelo's game, suggesting that this fight might be less appealing for Canelo from both a legacy and comfort standpoint.
Easy to become champion, and it's hard to stay champion.
You know, I thought I would never say this, but Canelo's scared. Literally, I thought I would, as a fighter, I know fighters are not scared, but wow, we've been begging.
As the debate rages on, fans are divided. Is Canelo avoiding a challenge, or is the fight itself simply flawed due to the size disparity and stylistic clash? With all eyes on this potential matchup, the stakes are higher than ever, and the boxing world eagerly awaits what happens next. Devin Haney shared his perspective on the potential Crawford versus Canelo clash, offering a balanced view that acknowledged the greatness of both fighters, while subtly emphasizing the massive physical advantage Canelo holds.
Canelo, please. We want this fight. I want it as a fan. And I want this fight because it's a great fight for boxing, for the sport we love. Turkey's making the best fights, and Canelo's not giving.
Haney focused on the challenge of facing Canelo at 168 pounds, suggesting that size and power may ultimately overpower Crawford's skill in this matchup. His remarks fueled skepticism about Crawford's chances, questioning whether the smaller fighter's technical brilliance could overcome the raw strength of the Mexican superstar. Haney also highlighted the financial aspect of the fight, pointing out that the showdown is as much about business as it is about legacy.
I mean, he's lost twice to the same man. So that can be a situation, or it could be that Usyk just has his number. But until I see him lose to another heavyweight, then I'm gonna have to say he's still his number 2.
His comments raised the question of whether the fight is motivated by the prospect of a massive payday rather than pure competitive spirit. This added another layer to the growing divide between fans who believe Crawford could defy the odds and those who see this as an insurmountable challenge for the smaller fighter. The controversy surrounding this fight only intensified, with opinions becoming increasingly polarized. Trainer Rosier also weighed in, offering a pragmatic viewpoint on the potential clash.
Too strong. I don't see Terence Crawford going to 168, and I don't see Terence Crawford having the leverage to make Canelo come down and make him in the catch weight.
Known for his sharp boxing insights, Rosier focused on the challenges Crawford would face moving up in weight to fight a physically imposing opponent like Canelo. He highlighted the strategic and physical hurdles Crawford would need to overcome, casting doubt on whether the fight would ultimately benefit his legacy. Rosier's comments added weight to the argument that Crawford's leap in weight could be more than even a pound-for-pound great like him can handle.
I think Canelo got all leverage, so all the advantages to Canelo. So I think that's just really a big payday for Terence Crawford. That's all he's looking at.
Rosier stated, the only thing he could possibly do at this point to regain that status is to beat someone of note in another weight class, and I think 154 is going to be enough for him. This remark underscored the delicate balance Crawford must strike in securing his place in history, warning against overreaching by stepping too far outside his current division. While many admire Crawford's ambition, Rosier painted a picture of a fighter potentially biting off more than he can chew. Rosier didn't stop there.
Crawford throwing his hat in to want to fight Canelo at 168.
I mean, everybody wants to fight Canelo. It's a money fight, you know what I mean? I think even Inoue would come up to fight Canelo. Canelo wanted to fight him. I mean, I don't want to see Crawford to fight Canelo, to be honest with you, but it will be.
Diving deeper into the specific challenges Crawford would face against Canelo, he pointed to the massive size and power gap between the two fighters, reflecting the concerns of many in the boxing community. who believed that moving up to face a physically dominant opponent like Canelo might be a step too far for Crawford. Rosier bluntly concluded, "If he should happen to fight Canelo, I don't see that ending well. It's just too much and too far to go." This stark statement added a dose of reality to the fantasy of Crawford versus Canelo, emphasizing the uphill battle Crawford would face not only in the ring, but also in convincing critics that he could match Canelo physically. Rosier's candid analysis strengthens the argument that while the fight may be an exciting spectacle, it might not be a fair contest. He left fans questioning whether this fight is the defining one Crawford needs to secure his legacy, or if it's a risky move that could tarnish it instead.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't be a great fight. It'd be a great fight, but I feel like if I deserve my opportunity, and and after this fight, what else are you gonna say? You know what I mean? This is a tough fight. You know, the top people ranked at WC are fighting each other. So I mean, it shouldn't be.
Rosier also shifted his focus to the challenges Crawford would face at 154 pounds, highlighting the depth of competition in that weight class. He made it clear that Crawford's path to greatness is far from simple, and suggested that Crawford doesn't need to chase Canelo to prove his worth, as there are already dangerous opponents waiting in his current division. Trainer Andre Rosier has raised important points regarding Terence Crawford's potential move to 168 pounds for a showdown with Canelo Alvarez. While acknowledging Crawford's exceptional talent, Rosier questioned whether the fighter's ambitions would be better served by first dominating the 154-pound division before considering a leap to 168. He emphasized the stacked roster of fighters at 154 pounds and suggested that Crawford might be taking on too much by skipping directly to a higher weight class. Rosier's comments add fuel to the already intense debate surrounding the fight, challenging the notion that it could be the ultimate test of Crawford's legacy. Rosier further underscored the tough competition at 154 pounds, pointing to the world-class fighters who are already gunning for Crawford. He subtly suggested that Crawford should focus on conquering this weight class before venturing into 168 pounds, where Canelo's physical advantages could pose a significant challenge. "There are some really exceptional 154-pounders now, and they keep knocking it out," Rosier stated, drawing attention to the depth and danger of Crawford's current division. His remarks make it clear that Crawford has plenty of unfinished business at 154 before thinking about moving up to face Canelo. Rosier's analysis continued, stressing the monumental leap that Crawford would need to make in moving up to 168 pounds. He painted the jump as an almost insurmountable challenge, saying, "It would be a monumental climb to go up to 168 when there's so much work in 154. His blunt assessment adds a controversial angle to the conversation, suggesting that Crawford's move to 150 weight might be reckless, prioritizing a blockbuster fight over solidifying his legacy in his current division. Rosier's take has caused fans to question whether Crawford is neglecting unfinished business for the allure of a high-stakes showdown with Canelo. As the debate continued to heat up, Johnny Ortiz added his own polarizing opinion, firmly siding with Canelo. Ortiz argued that Canelo's natural strength presents a significant disadvantage for Crawford, suggesting that the smaller fighter would be at a physical disadvantage. He also pointed out that Crawford lacks the leverage to demand a catchweight or force Canelo out of his comfort zone. Ortiz's perspective framed the fight as inherently one-sided, further fueling the controversy about whether Crawford is overreaching or whether Canelo is exploiting his advantages to avoid risk.